mountains were born. Ha ha! Wow! Or you, God, brought forth the whole world from everlasting to everlasting. You are God. And that's the first half. But it's worth meditating on. So before today, before last week, before 100 years ago, before Eden, before Adam and Eve, before God took man's head and put God's mouth on Adam's face and breathed life into him, before the mountains were born, it says, or before you, God, brought forth the whole world, before any of it existed, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. 1,000 years in your sight, God, are like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. The time that it takes for a shadow to move from one side of a tree to another, right? Just one watch of the night. That's how 1,000 years are to you, God. So when I look at this day and I realize that God has ordained this day from before the beginning of time, he had this day and him spending it with you in mind. And yet 1,000 years is as fleeting as the moving of a shadow. It's a single watch in the night. Wow. That before the mountains were born, you are God, the same God who made this day and wants to walk with you in it. Before he made the mountains, he had a day planned to walk with you that has today's name on it. He knew your name and he was waiting for you to wake up this morning. Before God said, let there be light, and before he separated water from sky, before he separated land from sea, before he called all the beasts and swimming things and creepy crawly swarming things into existence, long before he made a garden and put Adam and Eve in it, and it was overflowing with all kinds of abundance for them, he created all that they needed and put it in place before he created them and put them in it. And then he put his life in them to enjoy all of it. It was done in just the right order, in just the right time, right? They didn't show up and didn't have air to breathe. They didn't show up and didn't have food to eat. They didn't show up and were in danger from the other animals. He made a garden and he created the atmosphere and he caused the sun to shine and the moon and the stars and the gravity and the turning of the earth. He created all of that so he could make a garden, so that he could make man, so that he could breathe his life into him, so that man could enjoy everything that he needed. And all the things that God had ordained for us to need were already in place before we showed up. And when we showed up, it was from the indwelling life of God, delivered intimately to Adam, right? Breath to breath, face to face, breathed his life into him. And Adam received that as his defining reality. He became a living being, so intimate. So through the intimate process of forming Adam and breathing life into him, from God to Adam, Adam became a living being from the indwelling life and intimate interaction of God himself, and then walked intimately with God in the very provision that God had provided. Adam didn't know all that he needed. He just knew when he got hungry. And when he got hungry, God had already set up what Adam needed and already put his life into him for him to experience it from the place of intimacy with the Father. He just set him up to experience his love and his gift, his joy for him. He shaped man with his hands and he placed his mouth to man's face and he breathed his life into man. And before Adam awoke to see God looming face to face, breath to breath, right? He breathed into him and Adam's eyes opened and here's God. So intimate. Before God did that, and Adam's living and breathing within inches of him in Eden, long before the stars and the oceans and the animals and all of creation were scattered on the earth. God was already fondly the God who is God today. Right before the mountains were born, you are God. God was God for you for this day then. Before all of that, he was fondly thinking of you with him in intimate fellowship forever. That's what was on his mind before the mountains were born, because he made the mountains for a place for us. And he created the garden and all of the flowers and all of the animals and all of the skies. God was not looking for something shiny to look at. We are not his Christmas tree ornament on the earth. He has heaven. He's not thinking, the earth is so wonderful, I needed a prettier place to hang out. No, he has heaven. He's not lacking anything. He's not needing anything. He's not redefining beauty because he wants to do things better. He created the earth and all of its bounty for you and I as a context of experiencing intimacy with him before the mountains were born. God, you are God. He has made this day with you in mind from forever past. God knew today would come. He knew today would come. And before he said, let there be light, he was thinking, let there be Mike, and let there be Tabitha, and let there be Kat, and let there be Claudia, and let there be, Rob Feltz, and let there be Debbie. Before he said, let there be light, and then land and water and sky and sea, and a light to rule the day and a light to rule the night, and all of the teeming animals from the seas that become walking beasts of the field, and all of the birds of the air. And before all of that, that was all to create the context for our intimate fellowship in day one, and then our intimate fellowship of day two, and our intimate fellowship of day 5,348, and our intimate fellowship of today. You are no less set up for the intimate fellowship and provision of God today than Adam was before he took his first breath.